Hey, everybody. We've had some pretty good weeks here these last few weeks. Our matches with EJ Tackett, the PBA Commissioner Tom Clark, a couple weeks ago, Norm Duke, last week, Tom Baker, and now we have a treat coming all the way from Dubai. A very good friend of mine. We bowled amateur tournaments against each other. I have gotten to know this guy for the last 30 years, and what a pleasure it has been. I know him and his family very well. So let's welcome the Big Finn, Major Mika Koivuniemi.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you, Brad.
Okay, so everybody, as we're doing this week, I want you to realize because we're coming all the way from Dubai, it seems like there's a little bit of a delay. So you might see my or Mika's lips move, but the sound might not come right through. We will be waiting for each other to finish, no pun intended, and then we'll chime in. So there might be a little bit of a delay before each of us talk. But I'm pretty excited to be able to have Mika on. Mika, what are you doing over in Dubai now? Talk a little bit about that.
I have been in Dubai, or actually UAE, United Arab Emirates. This is my 5th year coaching here for national teams, and I enjoy it here.
So, do they have a men's and women's team?
Yes, we have a men's team, youth team, and ladies team. Ladies team is sometimes difficult to get 4 or 6 players. But in men's team, we used to have really good players. Few of them quit for different reasons, and we have been having a lot of juniors. Some years more, some years less, and few of them been here training with me almost 5 years now.
Now, does Khalifa Al Kubaisi, is he still on the team or still affiliated at all?
He is the president of the federation right now, so he's still involved of bowling a lot, and he's a celebrity in this country.
Major celebrity. I remember Dave Gwindon and we flew over to bowl over there, and I remember that we met Khalifa and some of the other people over there. One in particular, the one guy's name was Bobby, and he would throw a shot. And when he would strike, he would do a twirl and a split and all kinds of stuff right out on the approach. And Dave Gwindon started calling him Abu Dhabi Bobby.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's still around.
I don't think so. I don't remember. But I remember when they used to have a couple of really big tournaments in the late 90s here. And first couple of them were in Tourist Club Bowling Center, and the last one was in a big bowling center, really, really nice still, the Khalifa Bowl in Sheikh Zayed City.
You know, a couple of the neat things bowling over in the Middle East. The worst sunburn I've ever had in my life was in Abu Dhabi. There was a swimming pool up at the very top floor of the hotel, and Dave Gwindon and I went out and just hung out there. No more than 30 minutes, and I was absolutely burnt to a lobster crisp. I couldn't believe it. That's one memory. And then the second memory is, which we don't have here in the U.S., if anybody in the royal family wants to come in and bowl while the tournament was going on, they had the rights to be able to do that. So they would have to shut down the tournament, let everybody come in, and let the royal family bowl, and then they could resume the tournament. Is that still the custom over there?
I don't think so, but I know a few countries around this area. Sometimes finals has been delayed a little bit because we're waiting for the royal family coming over and watching the TV show or something. But I haven't seen here anybody from the royal family coming over and bowling in public bowling centers.
Yeah, but still, that is a custom. So imagine for those of you that bowl league here in the U.S., you'll be bowling your league, and you might be halfway through your second game, and a few members of the royal family come walking in. Sorry, guys, you got to give up your lanes for the royal family. So you got to shut down your league and wait for them to get finished, and then you can finish bowling your league again. Just imagine that type of situation.
Well, I got 30 in a row.
Yeah, you could be on. You could bowl 300, have the front seven. Sorry, got to shut it down.
Yeah. I don't know if that's still possible, but probably could be happening somewhere.
Well, whether it is or it isn't, it's still a good story.
It's a good story for sure. Yes.
Now, let's talk about some of the things that are the obvious things to talk about. Let's talk about you beating me for a title, and then later on, Tom Baker beating you for the World Championship, and then even later on, me beating you for my second title. So we got three times there that we've good friends, and actually we were on that same show together with Tom Baker. So talk a little bit about what it is and what all of that has meant to you.
If we go the order you told, first I think was you and me, we bowling in title match in Reno. And it's one of those shows I should never be in. It was the shark pattern, really long, and Reno was downhill. It was really, really slick, tight lanes that time, but somehow I managed to make cut to the matches, and during the head-to-head matches, I find a way to play really straight line, like close to second arrow, really straight, and I bowl a couple of great matches. I have like one match, I have like 780 first three, and I was still behind. But I end up winning most of the matches, made the show, and I remember, I think I bowled Brian Kretzer before I bowled you, so all slow hooking guys basically were on the show beside me. And the title match, I end up playing against you, and I don't really remember, but I feel it was pretty easy match for me. It's not one of the tightest title matches, but things happens, and it was great week for me. Same, we play back-to-back weeks there, and I think I make a show next week or week before in the Masters, the same trip. So, and then the show, you, me, Tom Baker, and Wes Mallott, the World Championships. So in 2004, it was in Taylor, and we went to arena what they built in Ypsilanti, and at that time I was living like 3 miles away in Ann Arbor. So it was basically on my backyard, the arena. It was great. It was great arena, great tournament, and there was about 50 Finnish people there in the crowd. I think crowd was pretty big, 2,000-3,000 people anyway. It was pretty crazy. And first match, I beat Wes Mallott, having really good last couple of frames to close the door for him or forcing him to do something. I don't exactly remember, but I remember it was loud and crazy. And then after Bex beat you, I play against him. And it was pretty tight match. And again, I was having the good 9th and 10th frame, but I remember I didn't strike second ball in the 10th, so Bex basically I couldn't force him to double the 10, but I left the 10 pin or 7 pin, either one, probably 10 pin. And Bex needed only the strike, and he threw a really good shot, almost 7-10, but he left only 7 pin and made it, and he deserved to win. He played great that week, and still, it's one of those one of those things. It's only major I haven't won, so, and that's the only time I bought for the title. But I still think Bakes deserved that win. He bowled great, and it's no hard feelings, of course. I never happy finished second, but it was great to see him to win, and the career what he had, and how kind of like that was the crown for his career.
So then you can talk about your other one of your other second place finishes to yours truly.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly the year when I bowled you in Las Vegas.
2013. No, 2012. Fall of 2012. Yep.
2012, we end up people one of the Animal Baron title match, and it was a good match. I remember that was really good. We went back and forth, and I know I go up to 9th and 10th. I have chance to close the door for you, and I strike first 9th frame and draw a good shot in the 10th, and then I made really bad shot, and I, of course, thinking afterwards, I think I needed 8 spare to close it down, or 9 spare to close it down. And I didn't take my time and really think about it, and I just tried to strike and miss a little bit. Can't remember which. I know it was high, but I don't know, it was slow or missing or whatever. But usually I'm really good just forcing the ball in the pocket if I need. And most of the time you get 9 or 8-1, probably worst if you happen to split somehow, pocket split. But and that's one of those things I kind of regret. I didn't slow down my brain and think what I need to do. I just go there and try to strike again after big emotion after striking first ball in the 10th. But we all make mistakes, and after that you step up and throw good. You need to double and 8, whatever you needed, and you threw 2 good shots and doubled, and then you're gonna get lucky in your field ball, but to make it hurt a little bit more for me.
You know, you just mentioned something that all 3 of our last guests have talked about. Walter Ray. Oh, we had Walter Ray last week. Tom Baker and Norm Duke. All 3 of them talked about the same thing, as you know, getting up in the 10th in that pressure moment. Every one of us can execute, but the thing that most pros focus on is trying to slow their mind down, getting in the right frame of mind. And you just mentioned that you know, wow, I wish I would have slowed my mind down and took my time. And you're right, but that's what most of the pros really are focusing on. Whereas most of the amateurs, their brain is just spinning so fast, and they're trying to just get up there and say, you know, oh my gosh, all right, let's make a good shot here, rather than slowing down, going through the whole cycle, shot after shot after shot, until all the shots are finished. So, you know, I thought that was a good thing to point out. We talk about that a lot on our normal Wednesday shows, about the importance of slowing your mind down and thinking about what you're doing before you step up on the approach.
Yeah, you try to make every shot as routine you can. We practice a lot. We're making those shots all the time in practice, league, small tournaments, and then you on the TV show. You try to feel the same, even there's much, much more pressure when you are in TV. So especially like you and me, we used to try to make the living, feeding our family, throwing those strikes, situations like that. And nobody is perfect. We are humans. We make mistakes. But most of the time, if you throw better than worse, you end up doing okay, I guess.
So let's talk about something that there are a lot of people. You know, it's funny how people remember. A lot of people remember the good times, of course, but then there are those that they only remember the bad times. And there was a handful of people when they heard that you were going to be on the show, they asked if I would ask you about the famous 10-pin miss against Norm Duke in the U.S. Open. And right prior to this show, for those of you that are watching, right prior to the show, I asked Mika about that, if it was okay to talk to him. And he asked us to pull up a clip from well, go ahead, Mika, you say, because Mika said he'd never told this story public. So you are going to hear it here for the first time ever. So Mika, take it away.
Yeah, this is the first time I basically tell what happens. It's kind of same situation what I talk about match against you, but first of all, I bowl Norm Duke, and it's second time in 3 years or 4 years. Like 2008, I play against him, same building for the U.S. Open title, and it was really, really tight match, and I end up losing by a few pins, and now it's a great match again. Lanes are tough, like always in U.S. Open, and we both throwing good. And I think I strike 8 and 9, and then Norm gonna finish, so he gonna need 9, 10, and 11 to make me mark and get good count. And he goes up and throw 3 great shots like Norm Duke does most of the times, and force me to get 9 spare 8 to win, I think. And I get there, and I've been having the best year of my life. I just won big TLC for big money. Money is okay that time, and it's about to winning the biggest tournament in my mind. It's a US Open. And I draw a really good shot. One of those shots when you think you will strike at least 90 out hundreds. And sometimes you don't, but it's one of those when out of your hand you like it. And I left the 10 pin. It should not be any problem. I think, and that time I still think I was one of the best spare shooters in the tour. But then I look up, okay, I need spare, then I need 8. Then I remember what happened 2005, same TV pair. My semi-final match against Patrick Cullen. The same situation. I was in a strike. I need to strike in the 10th. And I draw a good shot left the 10 pin. I needed 8 to win and go to title match against
Okay,
Chris
now hold on.
Barnes.
Now let's pull that up and we'll watch that. We got that here for you. So let's watch that unfold.
Yeah. So it's the same situation. I need strike to win, go in the title, and I had a great game plan. I was ready to make the ball change, and I knew it's gonna happen, so on and so on. So I just needed one good shot. I don't know. Here, it's freezing here. I don't know, it's freezing there. I left the 10 pin. And
now that was back at a time to where if you got the ball a little bit to the right, you missed the head pin. There was no miss room to the right back then.
That was really tough. Like always, US Open, but that's just flat patterns and how we play. And there's no problem to making 10 pin, of course. Should not be. And now I need 8 to win, 7 to tie, and I have a really good feeling that I had a good chance to beat Barnes because how my game plan was, and I was throwing good that time. And I made small mistake, and I get 7.
Oh my gosh.
So I tied. So back in 2011 against Duke, after I left this 10 pin, this came my mind. Oh shit. So I was starting to think what I do to make sure I get 8 for my next shot to win. and did not focus at all for my spare, because I never think I could miss that.
Okay, so basically you're talking about in the match against Norm, you were reminded about how you needed 8 this match against Patrick.
Because it was
And,
it was exactly,
and so rather than focus on making the 10 pin,
it's exactly the same situation. I needed 10 pin spare, then I needed 8. So my focus was for the next shot, not the moment. It was in the future. And I was thinking what I need to do, make sure I get the more than 8 or more against Duke, and I get the US Open. And it came my mind, and again my mindset went off because my focus wasn't in the moment, it was in the future. And I think that's why.
Isn't that funny how sometimes that our thoughts get ahead of ourselves, rather than if you can be disciplined enough to stay in that moment that you're in. No shot is more important than this existing shot. Then you go, you make your spare, and then get up there and then recollect and focus on that shot. There it was. There's an instance to where you just got ahead of.
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
So you got 9 there for the roll-off. So this is a roll-off.
The roll-off doesn't matter, but that's what the situation, what got me thinking during that. And exactly, I think you are the same. You were a really good spare shooter also, but it's 90%, 95% time, if we miss some spares, it's because our mind wasn't there. We were thinking the move, because I left the 10 pin.
Exactly.
I thinking what move I'm making for next frame, or your focus was not there while you're making the spare. And of course, situation like that, it's even more important. But somehow that got in my mind that time, and it probably cost me the title.
So we ended up talking right here, or we showed this clip, and we saw Patrick get 9. What happened that next shot? I'm not even sure. Did you get 9 or did you get 8 to lose the roll-off?
No, I got 9, and then he strike. I think I left 4 pin, and then he goes up and he strikes, and I left the 10 pin. I think that's what happened. Oh, I left 10 pin.
So
I left 10 pin, 4 pin, then I needed either strike but I get the 9, and it's.
Yeah, it's funny how difficult it is to let some of those things go. Because as a professional, when we get in the car after you pack your bowling balls up and you're driving down the road and you end up kicking yourself saying, God, you know better. You've been there so many times. You know better. Why did you let your brain get in the way? Right? I mean, you know what to do. Just do your job, execute, and that you would have been in the title match in this case, or the case against Norm. Calm down. You've been here before, make the spare, and then worry about how you're going to get 9. So exactly. I understand. I mean, I've been there, and I guess that's the type of thing to where until you've been there enough and failed, you never really learn how to guard your thoughts so you can succeed. Just trying to teach somebody to do that's a whole different ball game than actually being in that situation and learning how to deal with your emotions at that time.
Absolutely right, and this is probably the toughest thing ever happened for me, was the missing the 10 pin against Duke as a bowler. And it bothers me a long time. Of course, first night after that we stayed in New York because we couldn't fly out. I didn't sleep, nothing. I was awake whole night thinking and being pissed, whatever. And then I get home next day and I get so drunk I make sure I fall asleep.
So what is your alcohol of choice?
Oh, it depends. Red wine most of the time.
All right. I approve.
Yeah. So but it's funny thing about after I missed the 10-pin against Duke, we have 2 tournaments left of the season. We have a plastic ball tournament somewhere in New York, I think so it was. And we have an Indy tournament. And I think I bought 53 games that year. And I never missed any spare after that, not even washout. And in the Indy, last frame, I needed Mark to make the show, and I left 2-8. And I made it that too, but it's like,
You
I
know,
remember I never missed a spare after that whole season. Okay, it was only two tournaments, but it was something
that's
what really
impressive.
bothers me. I was even more focused for every spare for sure after that.
You know,
Because-
there was a couple of years that we had match play. There were seeded players, and it was nothing more than match play, and they used to keep stats on all the match plays. And believe it or not, both Tom Baker and Walter Ray Williams went a whole season without missing a single pin.
Right.
A whole season, like Bakes was like 954 for 954. I mean, he didn't miss one the whole season. So you think about that. And it goes along with what we said, you know, just focus on that shot, knock it over, and then go to work for the next shot.
Right. I remember one of those years they have those statics. I watched Walter Ray miss 1 single pin spare, and I was second missing 2, and I know one of them was the 10 frame match I lost. I tried different ball. Other one I didn't remember. So it's not like you're missing too many times the single pins, and most of the time it's because your mind is set is wrong.
Exactly.
We know how to make spares. If you don't know how to make spare, you should not be bowling professionally. It's pretty simple.
Exactly. All right. What else can we talk about, guys? What else do we say we want to talk about? Oh, yeah. Talk about when you lived here in Buffalo early on in your career. Actually, not Buffalo, but talk about when you lived here in Western New York.
Yes, it's early 1996. I moved January 1st. Actually, me and my wife and our oldest daughter, we moved to US. And the main reason why we moved US was me wanted to see how good I am as a bowler. I used to bowl international tournaments around the world. I used to bowl Asia, and I met Patrick Healy, and we became pretty good friends out there. And then he said, you need to come play some Megabucks tournament. And I came a couple of years. I bowled some Megabucks tournaments before I moved. And then kind of decided that we move to US and see how good I really am in the bowling. I was bowling pretty well in Finland, of course, and Europe, and doing okay in Asia. And that helped us a lot, and we end up moving to Niagara Falls, where Patrick and his wife that time was living. And I was there 4 months, I think 4 or 5 months before we moved to Michigan. And I don't remember too much. Of course, Jim Martino was sponsoring the Patrick that time, and he was sponsoring my January when the January was big time in Las Vegas with the few Megabucks. And there was a couple of the tournaments in New York. One tournament I went with Mike Newman because Jim was sponsoring both of us. We went to, I think, Long Island or somewhere we went together.
Yeah, that was probably the Andy Verapapa tournament down at Garden City Bowl.
Probably, I can't remember anymore. And I think I practiced for Martino's Bowling Center quite much, of course, while I was there. And maybe, if I remember right, I subbed a little bit the league, but I really didn't play the league. But most weekends we bowled the World Team Challenge that time. I was bowling with the Turbo Grips team. And it was good time. Of course, it was really short visit in Niagara Falls, but it was interesting time, learning a lot about US that time and trying to get my English a little bit better that time. Some difficulties to get all the electricities, phone lines and all that. Those people had a lot of difficulties to understand what I was wanting, but I get through everything.
So what caused you to move to Michigan then?
I met 1995, the World Championship was in Reno. And Ron Happy was there. He was coaching me a little bit. He didn't really coach me that time, but we knew each other. And he introduced me there because right after that, there was the World Team Challenge finals. He introduced me to Dave Bernhardt, the owner of the Turbo 2-in-1 grips. And then Team Finland, we stayed there and bought the World Team Challenge. And Dave came to talk to me, and we did well. Actually, we ended up making the show with Team Finland there, the Team Challenge. And during that week, Dave asked, and he put us in the brackets. I didn't know. Nobody know what the brackets is. So Dave, my understanding, make few bucks betting with Team Finland and betting with me that time in the brackets. And after that, Dave offered me the contract under the Turbo Grips. So I was the first international staff for the Turbo Grips. Now it's almost 25 years later, I'm still with them. So. But that time when I moved 96, Dave invited me or us to Michigan to see his new place. He had a big business with plastic parts for the automotive industry. And the grips business was a small part of his business. And he was building new warehouses and factories and stuff like that. And he was building the 2-lane center for himself because he was turning 15 under the year and he was planning to go to PBA tour. So come to see what I have here. And it was Easter time and we drove through the Canada to Michigan and see the place, almost ready. Those 2 lanes were almost ready. And we talked with Dave and he said he's willing to start a sponsor to me and move here. You can practice here and I can sponsor me. And back then, most of the sponsor deals was just the sponsoring for the tournaments. And then you split whatever you split. But Dave told me that he pays me the salary and all the tournaments. And end of the year, we see if he's up or down. If he's up, we split what is over. And it was a great deal for me back then. And I think it was a pretty good deal for the Dave too. And I think he never lost money during the time he sponsored me. So I think every year, even he paid me salary every month, he still ended up making more money.
Dave Bernhardt, I've gotten to know Dave pretty well through the years, and his daughter, Lori Bernhardt, now Lori Mraz. Many people know Lori because she's running Turbo 2-in-1 grips now. I mean, what a great company that they have, and I consider them good friends of mine. Even though I'm on the other main competitive grip company, Vice Inserts, but I've gotten to know both of them, and always, from across the room, always the type of people that walk over and say hello and shake your hand, and just a good guy, Dave, and his daughter Lori is awesome as well. So, I remember that you were waiting to be able to move here and get your citizenship here for the U.S. and them taking you under your wing or under their wing and making all of that happen for you. So what a great story. And then that ultimately led to you being able to join the PBA Tour. What year did you join the tour?
I joined 99. May 99, I actually ended up being the last PPA school they ever had, so I was part of that. I was bowled 99. I was bowling January all the mega parks, and then Abu Dhabi was my last tournament as an amateur status. It was in April, I think so, in 99. I finished second, came back here. But going back for the Dave and Laurie and whole Turbo Grips thing, yes, after we moved there, they start to help us because we first came, I came some kind of sport visa in the US, and we start to talk about, and maybe we need to get the green cards. And back then, Dave and Laurie and the whole Turbo family, they start to working on us to getting those green cards. And there was some bumpy roads and not so funny things happening on the way, but we end up getting our green cards and everything. And it's all because the sponsoring and guaranteed what the Dave and Turbo did for us. So they are like a family for us, absolutely.
And then you and I, early in my career, you and I were on Brunswick staff. You were on, I believe you were on Ebonite staff, and I remember the day that Jim Panici texted all of us and say, yeah, we just landed Mika. We just signed Mika. And so we were all excited that you were coming over to the Brunswick family. Rick Benoit was our tour rep out on tour. He's watching. Why don't you talk a little bit about Rick and what he has meant to your career, both on the lanes competitively and off the lanes coaching-wise?
Yes, I was signed with the Ebonite back in 97. I was the first. They signed me, Bill Rowe, I think same time as their first international staff players. And I joined 99 the PPA and stayed with them. And then 2003, 2004, I have my Player of the Year season with Ebonite. And after that was my contract was up. And I think my old contract has too much bonus money there. And they say they cannot really afford me or whatever they could. They offer me less than half what I make year before with them. And no bonus, nothing. And so I told Ebonite I need to ask around. And driving away from Hopkinsville, I actually talked Barnes. I said, yeah, it didn't happen. And I think Barnes called the Pinici back then. And before I was in plane, I already talking with Pinici. And a few days later, he drove to my house in Ann Arbor and he agreed the contract. And it was good. It was good times. And I think the best part of being Brunswick staff for me, thinking back right now, was working with Rick. Of course, I know Rick during my 5-6 years in the tour. I knew him and always liked him, but I never really worked with him because he was Brunswick and I was in Ebonite. But we went to dinner together a few times and talking stuff, and then he decided that he wants to know me, how I think, and he wants to know how to work with me. So he flew also to Turbo Grips. He stayed in my house and we started to practice together. We did a lot of long days and start to understand how I think, how I work, and Rick understand that, and then I start to understand how he work, and it was great time. And I think me and Rick, we have a great relationships as a tour rep and player. And for sure, I learn a lot from him, especially understanding ball motions, game plans, all that stuff. And Rick and the Paul U, his thinking, his baby Paul U, I still nowadays I use a lot of Paul U stuff, and I training my kids and I try to get my players better, and it's something to thank to Rick a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it always sounds like I'm a little biased to Bull U. But the main reason that I stay so loyal to Bowl U is because of my friendship with Rick, but even more importantly, because it makes so much sense, and it's so correct from the standpoint of anything that you want to talk about, whether it be a question or whether it be a discussion. If you get to the end of the discussion and you ask Rick, why are you saying that? There's always an answer. And eventually you can ask why enough, and it'll lead you all the way down to one of the 5 main elements. So there's reasons why Bowl U teaches what Bowl U teaches. And when, you know, Rick starts putting on some of his Facebook messages saying, you know, it's never been proven wrong. It hasn't. But yet there are so many people that, you know, they're great coaches, physical game coaches, but they're, and it's not to knock anybody in particular, but there's so much teaching that's out there that you ask those people why they're sharing what they're sharing. It doesn't take too long for them to feel like their head's spinning, like, oh yeah, I don't really even know. So, but yet Bowl U has reasons why, and that's the main reason that I stay so loyal, because it is right. So, I guess Rick is watching now. So, say hi to Rick.
Yeah, thanks, Rick, for everything, and especially thanks to Peter Friend more than anything else. Rick is one of the best friends and people you can always talk to anything. It's a big part of my life. Rick's outside of the bowling also.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
And it's like Bowl U teaching method is what it is. But what I like, besides what you said, they don't try to make everybody look the same. Like some coaching programs, they try to everybody look the same somehow.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. I think bowlers are more artists than anything else, because we are all different, and we need to find a way how we can get the best out of everyone.
Well, the thing is with Bowl U, if you teach bowling in the order of the elements, you start at the pins and then talk about your mindset and then talk about the strategy of the lane. Then you get to the physical game. Bowl U allows the bowler to decide what type of physical game do they want to develop. And then we can help them develop in the direction that they want to go. Rather than you get so many coaches that say, this has to be here. And then you look at guys on tour and there's a dozen guys that blow that theory right out of the water. You know, like as an example, perfect example, in talking with Mika, there are a lot of coaches that say that you want that ball to be entering the surface of the lane. You want it to be just entering that surface of the lane. You want it to be nice and smooth entering the surface of the lane. That's what you have to have. And then you look at Mika. Mika's one of the best bowlers of all time. Well, yet Mika doesn't do that. Mika uses loft at such a huge advantage because that's Mika's uniqueness. And he's learned how to work within that. So let's talk about that, Mika. How did you learn to use loft so effectively?
Actually, I don't really have the right answer for that. It's something I grew up, I guess. It's back in Finland. I grew up the lanes with not so much oil. And one bowling center I practice a lot. They resurface every 2 years. And I remember end of the second year, between third and fourth arrow, there was a bare wood. I can go and touch my fingers. I can almost get the splits in my fingers. Yep. So I guess it's something what environment make me do it. And then later I start to, I'm pretty good with this. And then I start to understand more for the ball motions, gameplay, all that stuff. So I can use this my advance, because I've been doing it, but not really knowing what I've been doing. But then later I start to understand what I'm doing and how to do it and how to use it right. And I think almost all basically all great players, they have to have some uniqueness and know how to use their advance. And when they see it, this is it. When I see it, okay, I can loft it using stronger ball than most guys, keep it more straight a line and get a better angle for the pocket doing that than some Brad Angelo who have to move left, throw slow and try to circle around it. I know I can beat him because I don't get affected as much as a transition doing what I'm doing. And then I was getting so good at it. I made 2-3 moves in a game without thinking about it. Just watching my ball motion, and I realized, okay, I start to loft it more without thinking, or I start to do something else without thinking, just how my brain was working. I just see my ball motion, and something what just happened.
You just mentioned something very, very important. And I hear so many professional bowlers and very accomplished bowlers that aren't even on the PBA tour. And they say the same thing. And it all comes down to Bowl U. Is once we start teaching them some of Bowl U theory, they end up saying the same thing. Wow, I ended up learning what I was doing, but I didn't really know that I was doing it. Now they start learning what they need to be doing before they get into trouble, And
right.
I think that's probably, in my mind, that's one of the best things about Bowl U is Bowl U revealed to me what I was already doing, but I didn't realize that I was doing it. And that's the reason I was successful. I was always thinking, yeah, I'm going to throw this shot and I'm going to throw it great. Well, in Bowl U, we teach, you got to be committed. But at the same time, the lane play strategy and understanding what true good ball motion is, that's all important stuff. And there's all kinds of different theories out there as to what is good and what is right. And then you listen to those people. It doesn't take you long to listen to them. Some of them, within the first minute, you start rolling your eyes and saying, they have a long way to go. Right. So anyway, we have one question here. Actually, I have a couple questions here. So what was your most favorite moment in bowling? The best moment in bowling?
My best moment of bowling is probably winning the 2011 Tournament Champions, the biggest PBA tournament ever, at least for the prize fund and media, what they're trying to get with that and stuff like that. It's really big part of our life and situation, what we been as a family and all that stuff, what was happening before that and what kind of relief was to win in that tournament. So it's the biggest moment in bowling.
And now you won the Brunswick Ballmaster Open as well. What was your favorite moment in that? Or maybe talk a little bit about that win. I think that's the tournament over in Finland, right?
What was your favorite? Oh, it's just that was Ballmaster Open this year. This year I didn't win. I fortunately made the finals, but not didn't do too well. But I think the best moment there was we have like how I say it. It's like a para-Olympic kind of thing. We have these Special Olympics people, like this person who was special needs, and there was the people with blind people, all kind of great Finnish bowlers who are disabled somehow, and we have a special event with them before one of the big squad there. So it was great event and memorable event, and it was great to see. There was Walter Ray, Parker Bone, me, a couple of other Finnish people, Osku, Kimmo was there bowling with those guys, and it was special. And right after that we had the 50th anniversary year's squad where they invited players, past champions, past runner-up, some people who were really important for history of the bowling, Bowmaster Open, 50 years old. So I seen guys I haven't seen for years around Europe and everywhere coming just to bowl that one squad. Even they don't have any chance to make the finals, anything. So that 3-4 hours what we had there, that was really special for me.
Sure. Yeah, I would say the same thing. Some of my most, favorite moments, obviously when you're winning, obviously those are the moments that stick out. But when you really stop and think about it, some of the most special moments are some of the times that you share with those fans or the relationships that you've built over the years with a particular group of people in a particular city. It's just so meaningful to be able to go back and feel like that it's a home away from home. You can walk in there and you don't have to feel like you're in a different part of the country, that people welcome you and they take you in, or they'll make you dinner so you don't have to go out to dinner, or they'll make you cookies, and always making you feel welcome. It's just such a nice thing. And there's so many of those places like that around the world. Josh, you got something else?
Graycom asks, does he continue on planning the Boulder 50 PBA 50 when it restarts, and kind of talk about where's he in Dubai?
Yeah.
Said.
Yeah. Okay. So here's another question. One of our locals from around here wants to know if you're going to continue bowling the PBA 50 when it starts up again. I hope the answer is no.
Yeah, I already started to practice again. I practiced quite much before Bowmaster Open, what was in January. And then I had a couple of month and a half, I didn't bowl too much, but I just started to practice and trying to get ready to bowl Masters and US Open, what I've been doing last couple of years. And then this COVID-19 pandemic came out, and I haven't been in a bowling center for a long time. I guess I think this is the biggest break for me, not being inside the bowling center in 40 years right now. So
yeah,
I mean, painful.
That's something. Again, for those watching, I'm speaking to you. When I was talking with Mika yesterday, and we were talking a little bit about some of the content that we would talk about, he had said that they have a complete lockdown curfew over there. So Mika, talk a little bit about that. You have Ramadan just finishing up, and if you're caught out on the streets past the curfew, talk a little bit about that and the times of what's going on over there in Dubai.
Yes, like we started in mid-March. It started getting bad here, not bad, but it started to get more serious with the COVID, and I really like how the leadership of the country taking charge here. They make strict rules and make people to follow those, and with the big fines and everything else. So I think that's the best way to control it. And country like UAE, where most people coming from overseas to work, so they are here to work and they want to be here, and it's easier to make those rules, I guess, than let's say America or Finland. We had, before the Ramadan started, about 4 weeks ago, we were 3 weeks probably, basically total lockdown. We couldn't go out of the house or apartment. Only once in 3 days you could go for even pharmacy or grocery shopping, but you have to text and go to website and get the permission from police to do that, and they control how often you get that, and if you went out, it's pretty hefty fines. And starting today, the Group I started now 8 o'clock here till 6 a.m. So everybody has to be inside 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. right now. And there's, I think, like $800 fine if you go outside. But during other times we can go outside. Even the shopping malls are open now. I think they have a 30% capacity on stores and stuff like that. And we have to wear the mask all the time. And when you go to grocery shop, you have to have gloves and mask. And when you enter to any shopping center or grocery store, they take your temperature. So I feel safe here because what they're doing. And of course, I'm following US because our daughters are in California, and I follow the Finland, what they're doing, because my parents and both of them are in a higher risk category there. So I'm actually really feel happy to be here during this time.
What is the temperature now over there? You're up over the hundreds now, right?
Yeah, we get around 100, just over 100, just under 100 right now during the day, and we are probably 90s in the night time. So it's getting hot. It's not fun to be outside too much anymore anyway. But
Yeah, I mean,
humidity start to come out maybe in a month, and then it's gonna be 110, 120, and humid. Then it's almost impossible to be outside.
you know, our viewership today is down a lot. Normally we're running, you know, between right around 100 to maybe 130, 140 people. Right now we're only been running between like 25 and 40 people. And I'm sure it's because of the weather here right now. It's been such a wet last month here, a lot of rain, and it's been cool. And now we're in this little stretch where it's getting up into the high 60s and 70s, and so it's getting warmer and people are outside. I'm sure we'll have a fair number of people after it's all said and done. It's just that people are outside doing their spring projects. So
we're used to the 5 o'clock now too. So.
Yeah, and then we have switched to 5 o'clock. We switched to 5 o'clock for the last few sessions. And because of the 9 hour, 10, I think it's 10 hours, right? Is that what you said?
I think it's 8 hours right now.
Okay, so 8 hour difference. Yeah, so it's like 9 o'clock at night there, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, so because of the time difference, we ended up switching it from 5 o'clock on back 5 hours. So you weren't having to stay awake through the middle of the night. So, you know, I appreciate you being on. What else we got, guys? About time to wrap it. Yeah, there was so much we could have talked about. Why don't we end with a great story that not a lot of people have heard, I'm sure. There's a good story of Mika using Bowl U strategy against Robert Smith, bowling for the TV show in Denver. So, Mika, if you could tell that story a little bit.
I try to remember how it went. We bowled a round of 8 matches, me against Robert Smith, trying to make the show. And one of those weeks, I was barely making the cut for the matches. And I think I went game 7 or game 6 with both my round 32, round 16 matches. And I was averaging maybe 210. So I didn't have a great look. And I guess Robert was averaging probably 230, 225. All the matches, taking advance, how the guys open up the lane for him. So before the match, I had my discussion with Rick, and we have a couple of different ideas, and one of them, if he want to play in, we force him more deeper, so it's more difficult to him to carry it that angle. And I think we sanded the screen, 100 screen or something, one of my bowling ball to make sure the front start to hooking or something. And
Just drag it to the parking lot.
And Robert Smith comes to paddock just before the match start, and he's losing it. He's getting really, really upset, mostly for the rig. And of course, it was our bold decision, and we have a couple of different game plans. What if he does that? What we do if he does that? And I start to I see his heart, so of course I do my thing and try to get a little bit more for his head. And whatever I did for a couple of first practice shots, he was red, he was hot, and he moved way out. And I don't know what he was thinking we're doing, but we have actually a really good plan. It's nothing, but somehow I end up beating him, I think, in 5 games or something, and I averaged almost 230, and he probably averaged 200 or even not that. So our game plan worked well.
Well, after that, now listen, I need to preface this. I consider Robert Smith a good friend of mine, a great guy.
Me too.
Phenomenal talent. But you got to understand, and we talked about this last week in our discussion with Walter Ray. That best of 7 game format, it brings in so much of a different element than the long and drawn out format. Not that one is better than another, but you don't get the same elements of strategy in the longer bonus pins format like you do in the best of 7 format. So here it is. After the match, Mika, basically the strategy was we're going to lower the scoring pace and we're going to force, I say we, Mika was going to lower the scoring pace and force Robert to do something that was outside of his strength. And lo and behold, the strategy worked perfect. Robert got so frustrated, and he ended up walking by Rick at the end of the match and was mouthing off to Rick, and then went in the paddock and started screaming at the tournament director, and that shouldn't be allowed. And lo and behold, I mean, because certainly that was a show that Robert probably should have been on. I mean, he had bowled great all week long, but there again, he was taking advantage of what the opponent was turning the lane into. And part of bowling is being able to adapt to the transition that everybody else is creating. So in a one-on-one match, you have to adapt to whatever the other guy's doing as well. And so the strategy was we're going to do something to force Robert to show his weakness and see if we can exploit that weakness. And sure enough, it worked. It worked great. And Mika ended up making the show there. So there's another instance of Rick and Bowl U knowledge working well.
Right. It's those best of 7 matches. There was so much strategy going on, and it's sometimes depends who you're bowling. Sometimes you wanted to lower the scoring pace. Sometimes you want to create a higher scoring pace. Depends who you bowl. And you need to know your opponent's strength and weaknesses. And it was totally different game plan. And I love to play those. And I admit a few times I've been doing it to lower the scoring pace and stuff like that. But who said it's the wrong or right way? It's why I have to play to make lanes open for somebody else. We are there to win, not making friends. And like you said, Robert Smith is great friend. I respect him. Great bowler. Probably one of the best talent I ever seen, especially when before we went to PPA tour, when I saw him in Asia somewhere else, and even in the PPA early days before he got hurt. For me, one of the best styles ever.
Well, without a doubt.
It's a great friend, a great guy. It's nothing against Robert. It's just we try to make a living, and my game plan was lower the scoring pace, but he overreacted for that. I think if he just do what he was doing, he probably could have much better chance to beat me, but it got his head, and it's already halfway there when that happens.
There's a lot of people that have talked about Anthony Simonson when he won that one PBA title, throwing a backup ball 2 hands. And I want you to know that I've witnessed Robert Smith. He won a big tournament over in Japan. I think it was Japan. I was over in Asia.
Yes, Japan, yeah.
Yeah, it was in Japan, throwing a backup ball the whole time in the finals. And that was without the ability of having your thumb out of the ball. It's a little easier to throw a backup ball when your thumb isn't out of the ball. Robert has a higher rev rate than most lefties throwing a backup ball, and he ended up using that on the step ladder and ended up winning that tournament overseas. So Robert Smith, what a phenomenal talent! Back when he was the only guy that had that high of a rev rate. You know, there wasn't anybody that had that high of a rev rate. Now everybody on tour's got that rev rate. If the guys that are dominating, so you know, anyways, but that's a great story. I remember that one very well in Denver, and then Mika making that TV show. And, you know, if you haven't figured it out already, Mika, you know, we call him the very stoic, you know, he's not very animated, but he's one of the best that I've ever competed against because he can do so many things. He uses loft effectively. He uses probably strategy as good as anybody ever has. He doesn't just play where he wants to play. He takes into account what everybody else is doing as well. So
The 4-pin story. Remember that?
the 4-pin story. Oh yeah. You know, Mika, you might remember this. You might remember this. I tell a lot of these stories when I'm teaching Bull U stuff, and your name does come up quite a bit. I've told that Robert Smith story many times. And now that you have told the story, I'm proud to say that I have told the story just the way it happened. I'm glad to hear it confirmed by you. So anybody that's heard that story, they know that I was telling the truth. Now, we were in Taylor, Michigan, and Rick Benoit, the whole Brunswick staff, we had a whole, our plan, we had a 2-hour practice session before the tournament. And the last half hour of that practice session, all of the Brunswick staff, we all agreed that we would go over and find Rick wherever he was. Rather than waiting for Rick to come over to us and find us and help us, we all decided we would go to Rick. And this one day we were in Taylor, Michigan, and Rick said, all right, everybody get lined up. I want to try to see, I want to do an experiment here. So we all got lined up as though we were ready to bowl the tournament. And then Rick said, all right, I want to see who the first person is that can leave a 4-pin. Whoever leaves a 4-pin first, everybody else buys them dinner. So sure enough, man, we all started trying to leave 4-pins. And there was one strike after another strike. They were the loudest strikes that there was. Do you remember that day, Mika?
I remember a few of those, yes.
Okay, so who was the first person to leave a 4-pin?
I do not remember.
It was you. You don't remember that?
Probably, yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
But it took for a while, I guess. It took for a while. Because many times we started try to leave the 10-pin first, and that's a little bit easier than leaving the 4-pin.
Right.
And actually, I'm using the same thing with my guys when we practice sometimes. I ask them, try to leave the 10-pin, and I'm talking to them, why you leave 10-pin? Try to do something, understand why you leave the 10-pin, why you leave the 4-pin.
Exactly.
One of those things I've been learning from the Rick, what I'm using almost weekly in training with the guys.
Yeah, so they're the same sort of things that we're teaching here and all around the world where we go when we're teaching Bull U stuff. So,
right.
Anyways, I thought those were a couple of good stories. All right, we've been on over an hour here, Mika, already. Time has flown by for me.
I have now nowhere to go till 6 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Yeah, you're on curfew now.
Yeah.
So, what do we got? Anything, guys?
You wanted to talk about my house and my saunas or something, you said?
Sure. Yeah. You know, we all went to visit Mika at his home in Michigan. And there were two things that I remember about Mika's home. The one thing was, it didn't matter what room you went into, it was a specific color. They have the red room, the blue room, the yellow room, the green room, the purple room, the white room, the black room, the brown room. They have every room is a different color. And the second thing I remember is there is a full-blown sauna right in their room, and you can go in there and just chill out. Oh, it was awesome. So Mika, talk about it's a Finnish tradition, right? It's very popular in Finland, right?
Yes, in Finland, I think basically every house has a sauna. And actually, there is saying that in Finland, first you build sauna, and around the sauna you build your house. But basically, if you have a house or condo, basically have a sauna there. And I grew up that, and I moved to US when I first moved to Michigan and buy my first house. And then I end up winning Super Hoinki. So I got some extra money. So we are lucky in Michigan, we have a basement. So it was pretty easy to build sauna. I was building sauna with one Finnish old carpenter guy. And we built sauna and we don't just build the sauna, we always build like a shower room and stuff around it. Then I moved my next house, and right after we moved in, and a few months later I won the US Open. So now again extra money, and that time I built it all by myself because I knew I have a Finnish friend, older guy who was like a godfather for many Finnish people around it. He has a plumbing company. So first thing I borrow the jackhammer and break the concrete and put the piping there and do all the work. And I used to be an electrician, so easy for me to do all the electrician work. And I used to work for constructions a few years before I started to just bowl for living. So a few months I built a sauna in my house in Ann Arbor. And then the house you talk about, when we moved to Heartland, Michigan, the first thing we find a house, okay, there's basement, nothing done, perfect. So before we move in, same thing, same guy, I go get my his jackhammer and planning my sauna and building that sauna there. Double showers, bathroom, changing room, it's all there. And we use that almost every day we use it. It's like a church for Finnish people. We go there evening and just relax. And
yeah, I think here in Buffalo, I think every house in Buffalo should have a sauna. I think that would be a good thing. You know, you get, especially in Finland, because it gets so cold there in the winter, just like here. I think Finland is a little farther north than here in New York or Michigan. And it gets so cold there, you got to crank the sauna up just to go thaw out every once in a while.
That's one reason, but and Finnish sauna is not sauna like some people say. It's a sauna. You cannot read the newspaper there. It needs to be like 90 Celsius or more, and you need to throw a lot of water. And during the winter time, even in Michigan, good thing to do. You go sauna, and then you go outside and roll in the snow and go back. And
oh my gosh!
Just ask Barnes and a few other guys who've been in my house. We've been doing that. And even Parker Bone, we went to Finland, went to Kimmo's house. We did the same thing with the sauna and roll in the snow. And it's fun. It's something very Finnish.
Fancy Williams just said that Finland is hands down one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I haven't been to Finland. I have been to Sweden. And
that's your problem.
Yes, yeah. Sweden, Finland, they're very similar as far as the views. And I agree. Sweden, beautiful. There's a big rivalry between the Finnish bowlers and the Swedish bowlers as to who's the best. Some of the best bowlers that I've ever known from Europe are either from Sweden or from Finland.
Yeah, but do they have the Finnish chef?
Geez. Josh says, but do they have the Finnish chef?
Yeah.
Josh.
It's rivalry between Finland and Sweden is not only in bowling, it's every sport. It's really big rivalry. You think like I was in Ann Arbor, and so you think the Michigan Ohio State is big rivalry. It's not. Especially when it's the ice hockey. against Finland and Sweden. That's the real rivalry. And actually, I have a pretty good story. You know, some guys in the tour wanted to call me Swede and try to get under my skin because they know it's kind of like a bad thing to tell me. But actually, when I was bowling for a living, I don't give a shit. Sorry, my language, but if you think that you get under my skin calling me Swede, you were totally wrong. But of course, I played all those years I was there. I was thinking it. Let them think that, oh, they get under my head because they call me Swede. And I was just laughing inside for them. You think that is so easy to get inside my head? But I remember, you remember Jason Williams? He won a couple of high rollers or what, back to back or whatever. And he was working with Ron Happy also. He came to tour early 2003, 4, whatever he came. And I know because I was practicing him a few times with the hobby. So I knew him a little bit. And we were, I can't remember, somewhere in Rocco. And he was talking to me, Rocco, before the Pro-Am. And they called Mika. I said, yeah. I said, yeah, but oh, sweet, he said. So I have the water bottle next to me. So he's standing, I open, poured the water top of his head and said, no rookie ever called me sweet. In the barrel front of everybody. I don't think no rookie after that ever called me sweet, but still, it was still all
Who was it
my
that the
character
jersey that had the Swedish flag on it? He had the front and back. Was designed. Was that Barnes?
I think you and Chris Barnes had a bet one time about about a jersey that you had to wear. The other person got to design the jersey, and then he put the Swedish flag on your jersey.
And then the other half had like unicorns and rainbows all over it.
Thanks for reminding me.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's funny when I walk some bowling center. There's two things people reminds me. They remember me. They remember missing Tempin against Noam Duke or the pants I have to wear when I lose the bet. After I lose the bet, I wear those pants and fine, and then we get a new bet. When next time we bowl against each other on the TV, whoever wins that match can design the jersey for other guy, because that time we already have those dye-subbed shirts. And I bowl Barnes in Las Vegas, I guess, whatever. And of course, his Barnes, he get lucky and beat me. But we also had a bet at that time. It's not only the show, but you have to wear the jersey every Pro-Am before you make your first show. But it took him long enough to design and make that shirt, and he bring that for Masters in Carolier, New Jersey. So he bring and in a bag it looks like a Swedish hockey team jersey. So he thinks he actually thinks that's bad for me, but in the end, yeah, of course I play it's bad, but I don't give it. It's fun.
Well, I got to tell you,
but in the front there was, I have the big Finnish lion here, and he was making like a lion, and who was confused, teddy bear, whatever, there was lion, teddy bear, and there was the rainbows with my daughter help and butterflies and in the front. So it was funny. But I got that jersey that week, so I wear the Pro-Am. I bowled pretty well in a qualification in the Masters. In the first match, I had a pretty good match, but I ended up losing it. So I went to loser bracket after first, but I won every match till I made the show. So I only had to wear it once in the Pro-Am, and that week in the show.
You know, that kind of lends right to what I was going to say. There are those people that I have competed against that you don't want to try to get under their skin. You don't want to try to push their buttons. Pete Weber is one of them. Norm Duke is one of them. You're certainly one of them. What you're supposed to do against guys like Mika, you just bowl, you walk off the lanes, and you get your job done. Don't ever challenge them, because that makes them dig deeper. Like, as an example, if I would have challenged Mika during that one match going into the 10th frame, if I would have said, like, all right, yeah, Mika, don't screw up here, guaranteed strike on the first shot, strike on the second shot. So I knew better going into that, if I was going to have any chance at all, just be Mr. Nice Guy. Don't get under their skin. Don't make anything, to where he would get mad, because he's a really good when he gets challenged. Just like Norm or Pete. If you challenge Pete, it's the same sort of deal. It's like, all right, yeah, you challenged the wrong guy type of thing. So, anyways.
There's a lot of guys who get inspiration for somewhere. Some people try to get their under skin, some people, whatever. Some people bowl well when they are angry, some people bowl well when they are cool. So it depends.
Yeah, I think I'm one of those guys. There was a time when Rick was trying to get me to find something to get mad at against somebody, just so I could focus on, I don't care about all these fans, or I don't care what I'm bowling for. I just want to kick your rear end because you pissed me off. So I would consider myself a pretty good mean bowler. Pretty good when I'm mad. Josh tries to challenge me every once in a while, and as soon as he challenges me, I'm like, all right, come on, I'll kick your ass.
It has nothing to do with that. It's that I've bowled with you in a few tournaments, and I swear that F word is the most common word used at all them tournaments.
Fun. My favorite F word is fun.
Right.
Fun. Yep.
I used to use a lot of one of the old Ebonite ball, the V2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mika probably said a few of them words in Finnish on TV.
Yeah, Mika, why don't you say a little bit in Finnish? You could say swear words all you want. I don't know what you're saying at all. I do know that we had a exchange student from Finland, and he was our field goal kicker in high school, and his name was Tapio Lako, and I'll never forget it. And he taught us some of those good slang words that you guys have over there. But one of the most famous things that I remember is you throwing a shot and then you speaking in Finnish. So, before you leave, you have to say something in Finnish. Why don't you say, listen, I want to thank Josh at 10 in the Pit Pro Shop for putting all of this together. Say something like that.
Näin lopuksi mä haluan kiittää Josh. Se on tehnyt tämmöisen hienon show meille in the Pit Pro Shopin puolesta, ja Bradykin on ollut ihan mukava mulle tässä. Ja toivottavasti mä en ole puhunut liikaa pahoja sanoja, yrittänyt kertoa hyviä tarinoita.
Okay, see, so I can say that same thing. Dedicated to Josh and a team, and he could 10 in the Pit Pro Shop, and it could put a good car, and he. Did I say anything?
No. But I know that when I was speaking Finnish a few times in the PPA shows, it saved me a lot of money, because we used to have that $500 fine when you say bad words. But
all right, buddy, we're going to wrap it up. We're on almost an hour and a half. What a great show! This, I wasn't expecting to go this long. Our goal is always right around an hour, and it seems like the time just unfolded. So, thank you very much for your time. Good luck over there in Dubai. I hope the shutdowns don't last very much longer. And please, a big hug and a kiss to Lena. And a big hello to your daughters when you talk to them next. I can't believe how much they've grown up. It's amazing. They're in their 20s now and in college. I can't believe it. I remember when they were just little girls running around the bowling center. So, but thank you very much, Mika, for coming on. We really appreciate it.
thank you guys having me. It was fun times.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.